I'm Dave Cyphers, president of the Cyphers agency. We're a full-service marketing, advertising, public relations firm. I think most people understand, most small businesses know that marketing, advertising, the way we promote ourselves has changed immensely in recent years with the growth of the internet and how it's evolved, how we use it has evolved. We have websites, we've got social media, we've got all sorts of forms of digital ads. The fascinating thing is, to me, that human nature hasn't changed. What I learned about the marketing principles when I was young are still very much the same. Which brings me to your brand as a small business owner. I think it's more important than it ever has been because of the internet. We don't pick up the phone anymore. We don't answer emails because we're bombarded by zillions of ad messages a day. As a result, that digital presence you have online has got to do a lot more heavy lifting to make people want to work with your business, or you're never going to get invited to the party. Your brand is more important than it ever has been, getting that idea across of what is unique and special about your business, your brand distinction. So I think we need to take a look at it as a small business owner and see if you're on target. A lot of businesses have kind of lost their way a little bit with their brand. Best thing to do is see if you can write that down. What is your brand distinction? If you can't, or if you write down 3 or 4 things, you need to do some work. One big idea has got to come to the top, or you're not going to grab people's attention. It won't be memorable. If you're not sure, the best way to figure it out is to talk to your customers. Believe me, they know the answer. Talk to them, whether you survey them or have some phone conversations. They will tell you why they chose you and why they stick with your company. And the answer might surprise you, which is interesting. It's enlightening in itself. What they find is best about you, stands out about you, may not be what you think it is. That's fine. Once you figure out that message, then take a hard look at your materials, your website, your social media, your digital ads, printed pieces, anything you use to promote yourself. And honestly decide, is that promoting my brand? Is it explaining it? Is it reinforcing it? Is it driving it home? And if not, then you've got some work to do. Now, admittedly, this whole idea is why a company like mine exists, why I have a job. So you may need some help from a third party because you get too close to it as a business owner. It might be hard for you to back off and figure out how you should be positioned in the market. And you probably don't have the creative talent to make it come to life. And come to life is what needs to happen, right? We have those few seconds to grab people's attention. Think about somebody looking at your website for the first time, and they're not going to read a big fat paragraph. They're going to look at the colors and the graphics and the pictures, a tagline, a headline. They're going to get a quick idea if you're high-priced or low-priced, if you have a better mousetrap that nobody else has, if you're the top quality in your field. They're going to make a quick judgment, and you've got to get that idea across. That's your brand. I think if you get that right, all of your marketing will be far more effective. Like I was saying earlier, you can't have 3 or 4 things. You've got to have only one because people's attention spans are short, so you've got to lead with one thing and hope that they remember that. You can't lead with 3 or 4 different things. And if it's not the right thing, if it's not a true representation of what you are, then it's a bait and switch, right? You can't set their expectations one way and then they get on the phone with you or they come to your store or they meet with your people and they're like, wait a minute, this is not what I had in mind. This was not what I was told. That's a disaster for everybody. So you've got to set clear expectations. You have got to make that brand be something you can deliver on. When we do our branding briefs, it's here's what the positioning statement is, and here's the support of claim. Here's how this company actually delivers on it. They have these experts. They have this many years of experience. They have this track record. That's gotta connect, or ultimately it's going to be a mess for everybody. Digital advertising was so different. We had banner ads maybe, and you put them places, but you didn't really know what was happening. And now the digital advertising, whether it's programmatic, which is the highly targeted ads that we can place on buy-through ad networks, and you can put on most any website, and it can click back through to your website, and you can choose who you want to serve that ad up to by demographics, psychographics, their interests, their age, their income, but not even that. You can go to geographic, I'm a restaurant and I want lunch traffic. Where is that person during the middle of the day as opposed to in the evening? Which device do I want to serve it up on? I know that person, but I can put it on make sure it's on their phone versus their desktop. It's crazy. The beauty of that is means that we can target things incredibly, and you've got lots of analytics to figure out what's working and what's not working. So that just didn't exist a few years ago. And if it did exist a few years ago, you had to have 10, 20, 30 grand a month or you couldn't do it. Now, any small business can dip their toe into the water and do programmatic advertising. Facebook works very similarly, even lower cost, highly targeted ads, much the same idea. And most of the world is on Facebook. And we found it worked well for business to business just as much as consumer-facing ads, which is a little surprising. Those are some powerful tools for small businesses these days that just didn't exist. I think it's just an extension of what we've been talking about, that it's not just the brand. Because social media is a two-way street and you are talking to people and they're responding to you, you do have to get content out there and keep putting yourself out there. You can't just wait for the phone to ring or do some ads and hope that works. Since most people are doing research online before they talk to you, you've got to get a lot more out there these days about what's special about your company and just keep beating that drum, or it's not going to work. Public relations is something that's really grown in our agency in recent years, and that is because it's not just the old style pitch articles to newspapers and magazines. While that's still very much alive, that stuff is not dead, but it is so highly integrated with what we were just talking about in getting content out on the internet. So you're pumping content out all the time. It may just be on your blog, on your website, in which case it's helping for your search engine optimization. And then you push it out on social media, and then you decide which of those things is worthy of public relations, of pitching it to a trade group or to a publication. Then this work is doing double, triple duty. So PR becomes a much more integrated, cost-effective thing for small businesses to do. Occasionally they'll get the big hit of the article, but in between they're getting a lot of other value of search engine optimization and pushing it out through social, when in the old days all you had was the big hit at the end. And that was very frustrating, and most small businesses don't have the stomach to pay somebody month in and month out and say, oh, guess what, in 6 months I'm going to get you this huge article. So now it's a much more, it's an easier thing to do, and it makes more sense. And you've got video as well, right? People can get themselves out with video. It goes on YouTube, it's on your blog. There's many more ways to push things out. Infographics are wonderful for, again, works great on the blog, social, but also for public relations. A lot of publications will eat that stuff up, Still, 50% of it's the way the site itself is programmed and set up, and so that has to be search engine friendly and mobile friendly. So if your site's 2 or 3 years old, it's kind of, we liken it to dog years, that site's going to need to be redeveloped, and most small business owners don't want to hear that. But there's the site itself, and then the other 50% is fresh, relevant content. Many people get this wrong. You have to talk about the kinds of things that are going to allow you to use the keyword phrases that people are searching on. Nobody has an illusion that somebody's is hanging on my every word and waiting for my next blog post next week. That's not happening. I'm putting more and more content out there week after week after week, so that after a while there's a ton of content nicely optimized for all the right keywords, so that when someone's searching, I snag them because they found my blog post from 3 months ago about such and such that they're looking for, and they're one click away from the rest of the site. Fresh, relevant content rules the day. If you don't have time and energy or money to do anything else, pump out the fresh content. And again, it lives on your site, but you can also use it for social, so you get double and triple duty out of it. Well, not doing many of the things we've been talking about, I guess. One that's been true for a while is people think they have the social media box checked and they've got somebody in the office who sort of knows social media, but it needs to be much more strategic than that. There is the idea of making sure it's your brand voice, the tone and the idea. It's not you can't tell that some 20-something in the corner. It's got to have that same voice as your brand has, and the strategy of what you put out there so that you're not promoting all the time, but you're not also just always talking about the weather and passing on some cute meme that came out the other day. You need to be strategic. So you're putting information and education and things that your audience are interested in, but you're peppering in your brand message and the things you do want to promote in between there. And that takes a bit of advanced planning. An editorial calendar is what we lay out month in advance, seasonally, and with conferences and whatever's coming down the road to make sure that we're covering the right things at the right time, the right things for different networks, right? Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, they're all a little different, and you can't just see people, well, I see this all the time, people take the same exact thing and post it on all the different networks, and that's not helping you either. LinkedIn is a more corporate business environment. Facebook is a little more fun and loose and a little more consumer oriented, and so on. Everything's a little different, and you need to tweak it so that it kind of the best practices for that platform. We have a couple of brands, Seasons Pizza, the tagline is "So fresh, we should be slapped." So it makes sense. We can be a lot more edgy and fun with that one. Even then, you've got to be careful. You can have a big social backlash pretty quickly and easily in this day and age. But then we have other clients where it's much more buttoned down and you much more conservative, and you just can't go there. We have an open out office atmosphere, and the digital team and the account executives who represent those clients, they're often talking over the walls and talking to each other, bouncing ideas off each other because things are happening fast. We have a morning meeting every morning to talk about what's trending because you want to try and capitalize on it that day when it's the royal wedding or Super Bowl or whatever's happening. You want to capitalize on that. But in that speed, you've also got to be very careful because you can make a misstep,